Back here, foreigners stranded in New Zealand are making concerted pleas to stay here. Yachties don't want to untie from New Zealand marinas to face the dangers of seasonal Pacific storms, and backpackers don't want to go back to Covid-ravaged countries. Some are even afraid of returning to politically unstable countries. That's according to the organiser of a petition. And they're asking the government to let them stay. Here's our reporter Tracy Neal with the story.
Retired Welsh doctor Chris Bates and his wife were stopped from sailing away from New Zealand in May because of the COVID-19 lockdown.
We're on our boat, which is our home. We were planning to sail from New Zealand in May via Australia and South Africa, and the government kindly extended our visas until September the 25th of this year.
It's left them and what he says are several hundred others between the devil and the deep blue sea.
We can't leave here in the spring because we'd be sailing into the cyclone season in the Pacific, which begins on the 1st of November. And we don't have anywhere to actually go to.
Dr. Bates is among a growing number of stranded foreigners wanting to stay longer. Backpackers are now urging the government to grant a 6-month extension for working holiday visa holders. A petition attracted almost 13,500 signatures before it closed last week. Organiser Marie Bock, who's on a working holiday from her home in Germany, says many want to stay in New Zealand for a number of reasons.
They are afraid of the situation back home. Maybe not only COVID, but in general, political situations aren't as good as in New Zealand. People are afraid of the future, and I think it's just very normal that you want to stay in a safe place as long as possible.
Among those who signed is Mindy Simmons, who said on the online petition,
"I'm signing because going back to my home country seems entirely unconscionable at the moment."
Daniel Eichlin signed 3 weeks ago and said,
"I'm waiting for Australia to open. Otherwise, I'll have to go back to the US where the virus is ravaging the country."
Jenny Walzenberg says,
"I'm signing because as long as the borders are still closed and no new people can come in, it's important to keep the backpackers who are already here and want to stay. For a lot of backpackers, New Zealand is important for them too, to give them a safe place to stay and live during this crazy pandemic."
Marie Bock says their plight is little different to stranded migrant workers for whom the government recently granted exemptions by extending work visas. She says talk of a looming labour shortage in New Zealand is another reason for the petition.
And I also saw New Zealand's perspective, just thought that the country will need workers during the spring and summer season. So I think it's more giving and taking, and not only backpackers wanting to stay longer.
Ms Bock is now hoping for a quick result before Parliament is going into pre-election recess. Green Party MP Chloe Swarbrick received the petition, which is now in the hands of the party's immigration spokesperson, Golriz Garaman. She says it's an urgent matter which deserves attention.
We know there's people here who've, in good faith, come here, are working and have then been essentially stranded, or rather, even if they can go back, they'd be going back to places that might be dangerous, and now their visa processing considerations are all kind of changed in a changed world.
Ms Garaman says they'll work quickly to get the petition in front of the Minister. In a statement, a spokesperson for Immigration Minister Chris Farfoy says his office will look into whether there are plans to extend the working holiday visas further. Chris Bates and his wife Penny will in the meantime keep their yacht tied firmly to the dock in Whangarei Marina. The 70-year-olds say leaving the boat here and flying home isn't an option.
We live on the boat, so this is actually our home. If we fly home, then we have to find a home, and we don't know when we can actually return.
Dr Bates says they're grateful for what the New Zealand government has done for them so far, but want it to enact a provision that allows yachts and crew to stay in New Zealand if the risk of leaving is too great. For Checkpoint, Tracy Neal.